Hello and welcome. This is the HeirofCarthage, and I've got what I think is going to be a fun video for you all today. Recently, I started playing Rome 2 again. I played it a ton on my channel in the past. In fact, it was one of the major heydays in my channel, and by that I mean tons of interest, views, good times, ton of content. I think I put in over 1,200 hours into Rome 2, and probably had thousands of videos on my channel regarding its content. And I wanted to come back today and cover something fun, which is, this is a game with a lot of factions and a lot of units, and although those units may not be quite as diversified as what we feel like we see in, say, the fantasy genre, there really was a lot of unit diversity in this game, and some of those units, for me, really stuck out, and so my objective today was to come back and pick out 5 of my favorite units from Rome 2 Total War, cover them, and then let you all come back in the comments and tell me what your favorites were and why. Now I'm going to start off with the Campanian Cavalry. Mercenary Campanian Cavalry are available to Carthage and some others. In campaign, they're probably available to anybody who gets in the right region. They are essentially like an Aspis Campanian Cavalry. They are a heavy melee cavalry that has really good weapon damage, but very high melee attack at the same time. So it really puts them into this fantastic niche where they can just absolutely crush skirmishers, even if they're armored, like heavy peltist or something of the sort, or heavy archers. And then not only that, they're still pretty darn good when you throw them again all the way up against heavy infantry, depending on the heavy infantry, right? But like, for instance, even up against, say, like Principe or some other heavy infantry like that, when they get a charge in and they sit there, they're going to do a ton of damage in that fight afterwards, so not a unit to be underestimated. There's just not a lot like them in Rome 2, and that's why Campanian Cavalry is one of my favorites. This may surprise some of you because I am the heir of Carthage, right? Not the heir of Rome. But I really have a soft spot in my heart for armored legionaries and Praetorians. Heir, that's 2 units, not 1. I know. I like both of them a lot, so I had to throw them both in here kind of as one. Romans just have some really sexy looking infantry. These guys have some really cool unit design, those big awesome shields, and the Praetorians even come with purple capes. I think the only thing that could have made this unit cooler is if the Praetorians actually had a purple shield as well, which I don't know if that was historical or not, but would have looked just absolutely awesome. By the way, I've got unit stats up on the screen if anybody wants to see these units. I'm not going to go over them in detail, but armored legionaries are a very defensive unit. They have extremely high armor, but it's more their looks that puts them in the favorites for me. It's not necessarily their performance, but that segmented armor on them, along with the arm bracer down their right arm or their sword arm, is just absolutely spectacular. This unit looks fantastic in battle, and I think to me is probably one of the coolest aesthetics for any unit in this game, and really, I think, puts together the stereotypical picture of a Roman for most of us. And then there is the Praetorian Guard, which we'll get to over here as far as views in a moment. A couple more quick looks at these awesome armored legionaries. But yeah, the Praetorian Guard is one of my favorite units for Rome, obviously because it's just the most powerful. It hits very hard. It can hold its own in there, even with some of the toughest barbarian swords in the game. And that's why these units, with their looks and their stats, definitely rank up there in some of my favorite units in Total War Rome 2. So another unit that probably doesn't get the spotlight as much as it should, Wodenaz Spears. This little medium spear infantry unit from the Swaby, don't underestimate them. They have an excellent charge bonus, and they will absolutely shred cavalry. They have an interesting bunch of abilities. They have a wedge formation for infantry, they have cavalry counter tactics, and then they throw javelins on their way into fight. These guys are vicious against anti-large, and honestly, their weapon damage for a spear is really quite good. So if you get them into the right fight, they can still do a lot of damage even when it's not against large. They move pretty quickly, however, they will suffer a little bit if they are not braced and they take a nasty charge from heavy cavalry, just due to the fact that they are lighter weight. But these Swaby Spearmen are amongst the best, in my opinion, if your objective is to cut down cavalry in a big hurry. Now you couple that with some other fun units in the Swaby roster, and pretty much you got a recipe for a good time. So yeah, anyway, if you haven't tried this unit, because again, this is one of those units that I think is probably a little further out there for most people. They don't pay as much attention to it because it's not a super heavy, but this is a fun unit. It's even an option for your general when you're playing as a Swaby in multiplayer and in the campaign, and can be an interesting one, so make sure you check this one out. So the next unit here is going to be a favorite of many people, I think. Not only do they have a cape, they have a falx, and they also have a Phrygian helmet. Yes, we're talking about Thracian Nobles. These guys have the hardest hitting charge bonus in the game, and are a very cool shock infantry that I think many people who have played Rome 2 have come to know and enjoy. The falx does massive armor-piercing damage and just high weapon damage in general, which makes them extremely good on the charge against other heavy infantry, and honestly, they can clean up pretty good in a anti-large fight as long as they don't get countercharged. Yeah, these guys are going to hack and slash their way through armor like it's not even there. Though the downside to these units is that after that charge is over and after the frenzied bloodlust goes off, the Thracian Nobles will start to be cut down by many units because they have exceptionally low melee defense and not a ton of armor. Though the noble version here that we're looking at does come with decent armor. But yeah, these guys will hack through even the most well-armored of units, and is definitely a favorite and probably the only reason why a lot of people stop by to play the Odrysian Kingdom campaign. Because, I mean, let's be honest, these guys are awesome, and in and of themselves make that faction something that you never would forget from Total War Rome 2. But not least on my list, and again, these weren't in any particular order per se, these are just 5 of my favorite units, is going to be the Royal Peltist. This is a hybrid unit. It is a heavy melee infantry, but it's not very heavy like you see most of the elite melee infantry. But it's because they come with 5 precursor javelins, and they operate initially in a ranged mode, meaning when you go to right-click on an enemy, the range attack is going to be your first option. You actually have to set them over to melee if you don't want them to go in. Now, 5 javelins in Rome 2 usually equates to a lot of damage. Now, while this unit doesn't have the same amount of armor or melee defense as most elite units, it does pack a massive wallop in melee attack at 62, and these guys will do excellent in melee against most units in the game, especially if they're able to discharge those precursor javelins. But it gives this unit a secondary ability, which is to deter elephants and heavy shot cavalry, and, you know, also melee cavalry if need be. But against shot cavalry and elephants, if this unit can maintain a bit of distance and throw those javelins in, it can not only own in the melee afterwards, it can do a ton of damage prior to that melee. So for this reason, I believe Royal Peltist are one of the most interesting units in the game. And I think that you all probably enjoy them too. I know I have viewers who I can remember leaving comments about them, and I think all of us love Royal Peltist, so obvious choice in the list. But anyway, that's my 5 favorite units. Again, not in any particular order, but my 5 favorite units from this game. What are your favorite units in Total War Rome 2? I would love to hear you share that down in the comments. So get down there, tell me what your favorite units are. Hey, even take the time if you feel like I got it wrong. Tell me why you think my favorite one shouldn't be in the list. Again, just curious. But yeah, Rome 2 is a gem. It's still got a whole lot of issues with it. We've run into all kinds of bugs and issues in Rome 2. The AI is not that great. Then again, we've been watching videos of Warhammer 3 upcoming, and the AI doesn't look so great in that either. So I guess some things never change in Total War. But yeah, I think this game is still a gem, even though it released in 2013. It's a ton of fun to play. I've had a heck of a time playing it, and it probably won't be the last time I play it either, folks. But I figured this would be a fun time to make this. If you enjoyed the video, get down there, hit that like button, and if you want to see more, make sure to click the subscribe and that bell. You'll be notified of upcoming videos. HeirofCarthage, signing out for now.